All right, we should be going live. I just want to give this a moment because sometimes it takes a little bit of time for Facebook to start picking up the video feed. So I'm going to just double check. Yep, looks like we are live on Facebook, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. So today I want to talk a little bit about stories in selling, stories in your business. I work with a great many financial advisors, and one of the things that a lot of my clients focus on is the nuts and bolts of what they're helping their clients with. So, are we getting ready for retirement? Do we need to save for college? Those sorts of things. But don't incorporate story or painting a picture or looking into the future in a dramatic or emotional way to really capture the attention and help rein in the desire, not rein in, but leverage the desire of their clients to take an action. Like, hey, should we take more of the money you have in your bank and put it into an investment so that you have a greater amount of money in the future to achieve this particular outcome? So one of these stories, one of the books that I often recommend is Story Selling for Financial Advisors to my clients, because it's a great way to learn about how to incorporate stories in the exchange that they have with their clients most effectively. So that's number one. I wanted to kind of give you some context because stories can be incredibly effective at making a connection with your client or with the prospect, by the way. By telling stories, you're doing a couple of things. First of all, people pay a lot more attention to a story because they're getting emotionally invested. We all grew up listening to stories. We heard stories when we were, put to bed at night. Hey, before I go to sleep, tell me a story or read me a story. And our mind is more able to connect with a story, a character who's going through an experience, than with a series of facts, a list of facts about a particular thing that, if you're trying to make a sale, if you're trying to convince somebody of something, just laying out the facts, laying out the material information is not going to be nearly as effective as wrapping it inside of a compelling, interesting story that teaches a lesson or makes a point. And so that's where stories really can be effective. They do two things. They educate and they can entertain. And entertainment doesn't necessarily mean, a fun entertainment. It could be, compelling or curiosity. There's all kinds of ways that you can take stories to be effective at getting a point across. And the connection that you have with the story, the entertainment value with the story is really going to compel somebody to be more engaged and then be more willing to pay attention to the end when you move to the selling. And so I want to talk a little bit about the segue, the moving from the storytelling to the selling, because this is, I think, a tricky piece of the puzzle for a lot of people. Is how do you tell a story and then move to a CTA, a call to action, to get people to do something now that they've heard the story. So I'm going to share with you 5 different techniques that you might consider after telling an interesting or fun little story. Now, before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about the types of stories that are out there. And let me grab this screen from, here we go. This is from Wikipedia. And this is a list of what some have compiled. Let me see if I can narrow this down so you can actually see a little bit more. You should. Okay, great. Actually, let me get out of the frame too. All right, we'll stop my video and let's hide that. So these are 7 different types of stories. If you look up here at Wikipedia, this is from, or the idea was taken from this book in 2004, although I think that this concept is much older than this book, of 7 different basic plot lines that you're going to find in stories. So there's the overcoming the monster, basically the big monster and the little guy overcomes it. I mean, the classic example of this is David and Goliath, but you're going to see this in so many different situations. So the protagonist sets out to defeat an antagonistic force, often an evil antagonistic force, which threatens the protagonist or the protagonist's homeland or family, etc. Then there's the rags to riches story. I was poor, and then I acquired power or wealth, or I got a partner, and then I lost it again, and then I got it all back. Right? That's a classic rags to riches story. There's the quest, the looking for something. The protagonist and maybe a set of companions, usually unique companions, because you need to have something interesting going on with multiple characters. They set out to acquire an important object or get someplace out to a particular location. And they face temptations along the way, and other obstacles might get in their way, but eventually they succeed, right? They get there. This is this classic. Obviously, Lord of the Rings is probably the first that jumps to mind. But there's Raiders of the Lost Ark or Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That's a great example. The voyage and the return. So the protagonist, they go to some foreign land, some strange foreign place, and after overcoming the threats that are posed by that situation, they learn something important. They come away with some great lessons, and then they return enriched by the experience. There's the comedy, which I love comedy, and there's these are lighthearted. There's usually fun play between some characters. There's a little bit of conflict, but the conflict isn't really overly dramatic or nail biting kind of conflict. And there's some lovely resolution in the end. If you think about Shakespeare's comedies, I think they always ended up in a wedding at the end, if I remember correctly. Tragedy, right? The protagonist is a hero with a major flaw in their character, and they make some great mistake, and ultimately that leads to their undoing. And then finally, rebirth, an event that forces a character to change the way that they behave in the world and to become a better person. Now, these are sort of the archetypal stories that you're going to find in great literature, in great film. But how does this deal with selling? Well, these things are not probably going to be the types of stories that you're going to tell in mass, in dramatic detail, in an email or in a sales letter or in a social media post. Social media posts, by the way, are great places to tell stories. But when you take a little snippet, a little taste, a little flavor of any one of these 7 story types that I've just shared with you, and you impart it into an email, into a social media post, even into a long-form sales letter or a video sales letter, you're going to connect so much more with your prospects than if you were simply going to share some facts and some interesting statistics. So let's now segue to the segues that I mentioned. So how do you move from story to selling? Well, I'm going to give you 5 potential ways to segue from a compelling, interesting, exciting, curiosity driven story to your call to action. Here's number 1. So you've just learned this lesson, and you can say something like, so you now that you've learned this, you might actually feel the same way about, and then you talk about the topic at hand, the thing that you have to sell, the thing that you have to offer, the subject that you are trying to help somebody address. And so it's a really easy sentence that you can throw in there to segue from your story into selling mode. And when I say selling mode, this could be selling them on anything, right? You're not necessarily selling a product or service right away. It might be selling them on opting into your email list. It might be selling them on registering for a webinar. It might be selling them on an action. Okay, number 2, right? I know that sounds crazy, but so does, and then you talk about, so does staying up all night, anxiety driven around whatever the problem is that they deal with, and then you present your solution. That's why you should check out this new book by blah blah blah, right? So that's another way to segue. Let's look at number 3. So that's when I realized, and then you talk about what the lesson was that you learned, which reminds me, and then you can segue into your call to action, because you can make that connection between the lesson that you learned and the lesson that perhaps you want to teach, or another resource that can help them address the thing that relates to the lesson that you've learned. Okay, so those are a couple of examples. I got 2 more actually. So let's look at this one. And that's exactly what you're doing when you fill in the blank. What is it that they are doing? The problem they're creating for themselves, the bad habit that they're in, and then you can talk about the solution that you have to offer. So that's why you should go sign up for this great webinar where you're going to learn how to overcome that. That's why you should head on over to Amazon right now and pick up this book. That's why you should, go grab this course while it's on discount before the early bird special ends. Whatever it may be, you can move to your call to action. Here's number 5. So what does this have to do with, and then the topic at hand, right? So you're talking about something like, I love this story. I think I used this story in an email sequence that I've written about how when I came back from elementary school, every afternoon after school, the bus would drop me off, and I could either walk 2 blocks around the corner, or I could walk right across the street from the bus stop, up the driveway of the house that was right across from the bus stop, and cut through to my backyard, and I was home, within 45 seconds rather than 2 minutes. And it was a shortcut. And I would use, and actually, I knew the neighbor. I would see the owner of the house in her kitchen some days when I was walking up the driveway, and I waved to her and she waved to me. I don't think we ever talked. I don't think we ever, exchanged words at all. But she knew what I was doing, and I was like, oh, it's that kid who at 3:20 in the afternoon walks up my driveway and goes to his house, which I guess he lives over there, right? We didn't know each other, but it's a great little story. It's a little vignette. And the lesson is that sometimes it's okay to take shortcuts. And then I go transition to an offer that I have around templates that I have written for business owners who want a shortcut in their marketing and online business stuff. How to write emails more quickly, how to put a webinar together quickly. I have the templates for it. Well, that's a great segue. It's a great way to move from a little story, a little vignette about me taking a shortcut to, well, what does this have to do with my business? Well, it's okay to take shortcuts. In fact, I have something to help you take a shortcut right now. That's how you might use this as an example. Okay, so that's it. Those are my 5 examples of segues. And if you're looking for a way to use stories more effectively in selling in your business, there's a cool event coming up next week that I want you to know about. There's no cost involved at all except your time. And, I would say maybe 20, 30 minutes a day for 5 days over the course of next week. And this is from my friend Stephen Werner, who is running what he calls a 5-day challenge to unlock your story. Let's actually take a look at this for a moment. So let me pull this up on my other screen here, which I think I have reduced. Okay. So you're going to discover how to generate story posts for social media without using, quotes from, famous people or asking silly questions to get engagement. You're going to quickly build engaging story-based content. So you're going to learn how to do that. And that's going to give you the ability to position yourself in a way that is going to get people engaged and salivating for whatever your offer is, whatever the next thing that you're going to be bringing them to might be. Okay. The next thing that you're going to be able to learn is how to know which stories to post and which not to post. He's going to give you the framework for that. So the so here's how it works. And let me actually drop the details in the chat so you can know where to go to sign up. So this is that should be it. Hopefully it's there. Okay. Yep, you should see it now. So it's every day, Monday through Friday of next week, starting April 5th. It's a 5-day challenge. Basically, what happens is you sign up. He's going to bring you into, I think he's doing this inside a Facebook group, and he's going to teach you this process. And there'll be some live Q&A. He's going to give you some fill in the blank templates so that you can really, get up and running fast with your story. And, in about 15, 20 minutes a day, you'll learn the process, and then it'll take you another 10 to 15 minutes to fill in the templates, maybe think about your story, and then ultimately build out compelling, interesting story content that you can use in your social posts to attract more attention and get people to take action. And remember those segues that I gave you, moving from story to call to action. Those are really useful ways to be able to engage people in the story and then move them over into whatever it is that you're offering. So I've put the link down in the comments, and if you're interested in Steven's challenge, you can go ahead and click that link, go get signed up for his free 5-day challenge, helping you unlock your story. And this is David Baer from Baer on Marketing. Thank you so much for hanging out with me a little bit here. And I hope you found some value in this. If you did, I'd be interested to hear what the most valuable lesson that you learned today might have been. Go ahead and leave your comments down below. And if you're interested in engaging more with video content here on Facebook, you can always seek me out. I'm going to try to do this on a weekly basis, as I've been promising my folks in my community that I would. And if you have some ideas about things that you'd like to hear from me, feel free to leave that in the comments as well. Okay, it's 17 minutes. We've gone longer than I had planned. I'm going to wrap this up, but thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope that you found some value in my lesson on using stories to sell in your business. Thanks so much, and have a great day.